Imagine a company so dominant, they treat almost 90% of all patients with a life-altering disease.
Wow.
That's Vertex Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And today, we're diving deep into their world,
Sounds good.
exploring their incredible success with cystic fibrosis treatments, their ambitious expansion into other disease areas,
Interesting.
and whether their stock is actually worth all the hype.
Makes sense.
Before we get started, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future deep dives.
Yeah, subscribe.
We'll be unearthing fascinating insights from all kinds of sources, just like this one.
I'm excited.
Today's deep dive is all about giving you the knowledge to assess Vertex Pharmaceuticals as an investment opportunity,
Okay.
using insights drawn directly from expert analysis and company reports.
Interesting.
We'll cover everything from their business model to market sentiment and potential risks.
Got it.
So are you ready to unlock the secrets of this biotech powerhouse?
Absolutely.
Let's dive in.
They've basically cornered the market on cystic fibrosis treatments. It's quite a feat.
It really is.
Yeah.
Their main focus is cystic fibrosis treatment. But for those who aren't familiar,
Okay.
could you give us a quick rundown of what cystic fibrosis is
Sure.
and how Vertex's drugs work?
Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease that affects the lungs and digestive system. It makes it difficult to breathe and absorb nutrients.
So it's pretty serious.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Vertex's drugs are pretty remarkable in that they target the underlying cause of the disease,
Interesting.
which is a defective protein called CFTR.
So instead of just treating the symptoms,
Right.
they're going after the root of the problem.
Exactly.
That's a game changer.
It is.
And it explains why they're reaching almost 90% of all cystic fibrosis patients.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's incredible to think about the impact they're having on people's lives.
Absolutely. But here's the interesting part.
Yeah.
Vertex isn't content with just dominating the cystic fibrosis market.
Yeah.
They're setting their sights on other serious diseases,
Makes sense.
like sickle cell disease, beta thalassemia,
Wow.
and even type 1 diabetes.
It seems like a smart move from a business perspective to diversify,
Sure.
but it's also pretty cool that they're choosing areas where there's a huge need for new treatments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They call it a disease-first approach.
Right.
They're laser-focused on areas where they can make a real difference in people's lives.
That's great.
This approach, combined with their strategic collaborations, is really what sets them apart.
Okay.
They've teamed up with companies like Moderna
Uh-huh.
to leverage cutting-edge technologies like mRNA
Interesting.
to speed up their drug development process.
So they're not just relying on their own expertise.
Right.
They're tapping into a network of innovators.
Exactly.
That's a pretty savvy move.
It is, and it speaks to their commitment to staying at the forefront of medical advancements.
Now, all this innovation and expansion requires strong leadership. Who's at the helm of Vertex steering the ship?
The CEO is Reshma Kouramani.
Okay.
She's a medical doctor with a wealth of experience in the pharmaceutical industry.
Sounds impressive.
And she's highly regarded for both her scientific expertise and her strategic vision.
She sounds like a real force to be reckoned with.
She is.
But all this research and development must be costing a fortune.
Yeah.
How are they funding it all?
Vertex is investing heavily in R&D to the tune of over $2.5 billion last year.
Wow.
And they're projected to spend even more this year.
Wow, that's a serious commitment to the future.
It is.
It sounds like they're putting their money where their mouth is,
Exactly.
but they're not just investing in research.
Yeah,
They're also making strategic acquisitions.
you got it.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to spend money to acquire companies that align with their strategic goals.
Uh-huh.
For example, in 2022, they acquired ViaCyte to bolster their type 1 diabetes program.
Okay.
And just last year, they picked up Alpine Immune Sciences,
Interesting.
which strengthened their position in autoimmune and inflammatory diseases.
So they're playing the long game, building a robust portfolio
Yeah.
through a combination of internal research and smart acquisitions.
Right.
It's fascinating to see their strategy unfold.
It is.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that might surprise you.
Okay.
Vertex doesn't pay a dividend to its shareholders.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems unusual for a company that's doing so well financially.
I know, right?
What's the thinking behind that?
Their rationale is that they believe reinvesting those profits back into the business and pursuing new growth opportunities will generate greater long-term value for their shareholders.
I see.
They're essentially betting that their stock price will appreciate more than a dividend would pay out.
So it's a bet on their own success,
It is.
which so far seems to be paying off.
So far, yeah.
Let's talk about those financials.
Okay.
What kind of revenue are they pulling in?
Their financial performance has been stellar. In 2022, their product revenue was almost $9 billion,
Wow.
an 18% increase from the previous year.
That's impressive.
And in 2023, it jumped to almost $10 billion.
Those are some impressive numbers.
Yeah.
But revenue is only part of the story.
Right.
Are they actually making a profit from all that revenue?
They are, and their profit margins are incredibly impressive.
Good.
They're a profitability powerhouse.
It's great to hear.
Plus, they have a very healthy balance sheet with minimal debt.
So they're financially sound.
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign for potential investors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're in a strong position to weather any economic storms that might come their way.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
From their dominance in the CF market to their ambitious expansion plans and their stellar financials.
Right.
Don't forget to check out all the sources we used for this deep dive in the episode description.
Yes, definitely check those out.
And while you're there, let us know in the comments what other companies you'd like us to deep dive into next.
We love getting your suggestions.
We'll be back in a moment to discuss market sentiment, ownership structure, and risk assessment.
Sounds good.
So grab a drink, maybe a snack,
Yeah.
and we'll continue our deep dive into Vertex Pharmaceuticals right after this.
Looking forward to it.
All right, we're back
Back at it.
and ready to continue our deep dive into Vertex Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Now that we have a good understanding of their business model, management, and financial health,
Right.
let's shift our focus to what the market thinks about them.
That's a critical piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Even with a solid business, if the market isn't convinced, it can be a tough road for investors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the general sentiment surrounding Vertex? Are investors feeling bullish or bearish?
The overall consensus among analysts is a moderate buy,
Okay.
which suggests a generally positive outlook.
So the experts seem to think Vertex is a good bet.
They do.
But what kind of price target are they setting for the stock?
The average price target among analysts is around $490,
Okay.
which is a pretty decent jump from its current price.
That's a potential upside of almost 18%.
It is.
No wonder investors are excited.
Yeah.
But besides analyst opinions, are there any other indicators we can look at to gauge market sentiment?
There's a metric called the SMART score, which you might find interesting.
Right.
It's a data-driven measure that takes into account a variety of factors, like analyst ratings, hedge fund activity, and insider transactions.
So it's kind of like a comprehensive report card for a stock?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what's Vertex's SMART score?
It's a perfect 10,
Wow.
the highest possible score.
Straight A's across the board.
Pretty impressive.
That's got to be a good sign.
It is.
But let's not forget about the people who are actually putting their money where their mouths are.
Right.
Who are the major players holding Vertex stock?
When it comes to ownership structure, Vertex boasts some heavy hitters. We're talking about institutional investors like Capital World Investors, Vanguard Group, BlackRock, and State Street Corp.
These are some of the biggest names in finance.
They are.
What does this high level of institutional ownership tell us about Vertex?
It's a strong vote of confidence.
Okay.
These institutions are known for their long-term investment strategies.
Right.
They're not looking for a quick buck.
Yeah.
They're betting on Vertex's continued growth and success over the long haul.
That's reassuring for anyone considering investing in Vertex.
It is.
But let's be realistic, no company is perfect.
Right.
What are some of the potential weaknesses or risks associated with Vertex?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us perfectly into a SWOT analysis.
Okay.
We've already talked about their strengths, like their dominant position in the CF market, strong financials, and innovative R&D programs. But let's flip the coin and examine their weaknesses.
Okay, so what could potentially trip them up?
Well, their heavy reliance on CF treatments, while a strength, is also a potential vulnerability.
Okay.
What if something disrupts the CF market?
Yeah.
A new competitor, a groundbreaking therapy, or a shift in regulations could significantly impact their revenue stream.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They've built an empire around CF, so any disruption in that market could have a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Well,
Another weakness is their limited experience outside the CF market.
Okay.
They're venturing into uncharted territory with their expansion into other disease areas.
Right.
There's always a learning curve.
Yeah.
And success in one area doesn't guarantee success in another.
It's like they're a star athlete trying out a new sport.
Right.
Their skills might not transfer as easily as they think.
Exactly.
It's a calculated risk, but a risk nonetheless.
It is.
Now, let's shift gears and explore the opportunities that lie ahead for Vertex. Where do you see potential for growth and evolution?
Well, their expansion into new disease areas is a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
If they can replicate their success in CF.
Right.
There's also potential for growth within their existing markets. They're constantly working to improve their current drugs and develop new ones to reach even more CF patients.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about their strategic acquisitions.
Right.
They've shown a willingness to acquire companies that align with their goals, giving them access to new technologies, talent, and markets.
It's a smart strategy.
They're like a master chess player, strategically positioning themselves for future success.
I like that analogy.
But every game has its challenges.
Of course.
What are some of the threats Vertex might face?
Competition is a constant threat in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
Other companies are working tirelessly to develop their own CF treatments.
Right.
And there's always the risk that a competitor could come up with a superior therapy.
So they need to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation.
Absolutely.
What else?
Pricing pressures are another major challenge.
Okay.
Governments and insurance companies are increasingly pushing back against high drug prices.
Yeah, that's understandable.
This could put a dent in Vertex's profitability if they're forced to lower their prices.
And they've already faced scrutiny over their pricing practices in the past.
Right.
So this is a valid concern.
It is.
What other threats should we be aware of?
Regulatory changes are a constant wild card in the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
New regulations or changes to existing ones could impact Vertex's ability to develop and market their drugs.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a complex and ever-evolving landscape.
It sounds like they need to be agile and adaptable to navigate these potential pitfalls.
They do.
We've talked a lot about their business strategy and potential risks.
We have.
But there's one crucial piece of the puzzle we need to address. Valuation. Yes.
Yeah.
The million-dollar question. What is Vertex actually worth?
Exactly.
And this is where things get a little tricky.
Yeah.
Because there's no easy answer.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, different analysts use different valuation methods, like discounted cash flow analysis, and they often make different assumptions about the company's future growth and profitability.
Right.
It's not an exact science.
So one analyst might say Vertex is overvalued,
Yeah.
while another might say it's undervalued.
Exactly.
That's got to be confusing for investors.
It can be.
Yeah.
That's why it's crucial to do your own research.
Okay.
Understand the different valuation methodologies, and not just blindly trust one analyst's opinion.
Right.
Look at the big picture and draw your own conclusions.
Ultimately, the investment decision comes down to individual risk tolerance and investment goals.
Exactly.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Nope.
So we've explored Vertex's business model, management team, financial health, market sentiment, ownership structure, and even delved into the risks and opportunities they face.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
You now have a pretty comprehensive understanding of Vertex Pharmaceuticals as an investment opportunity.
But before you rush out to buy or sell any stock,
Right.
remember, this deep dive is for informational purposes only.
It is.
It's not financial advice.
Definitely not.
Always do your own research and consult with a financial professional before making any investment decisions.
Good advice.
Now for our final thought.
Okay.
We've learned that Vertex is a leader in the biotech world, but their success hinges on continued innovation.
That's the key.
Can they maintain their dominance as new players enter the field and technology rapidly evolves?
It's a question worth pondering as you consider Vertex's future.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Vertex Pharmaceuticals. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Vertex Pharmaceuticals,
Yeah,
make sure you hit that subscribe button
definitely.
so you don't miss our next episode where we'll be tackling another fascinating company.
We've got some really interesting deep dives lined up,
For sure.
and we can't wait to share our insights with you.
And if there's a particular company you're curious about, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
We're always on the lookout for new deep dive targets.
Your suggestions might just inspire our next episode.
It's true.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy investing.